This is Jared Poland for FroKnowsPhoto.com. And this is the HDR RANT Part 2. May the raw file be strong in that one. So here we are for that HDR RANT Part 2. Everybody's been asking for it, and they want to know what I think and my conclusions on RAW on HDR. So I've done a ton of research on HDR. I found one of the best HDR shooters out there, who I actually ran into in Florida. His name is Trey Ratcliffe for StuckInCustoms.com, and he's been kind enough to let me use his images as samples, as well as talk about his tutorial and share with you his methods for how he gets HDR photos that he's happy with. And that brings up, am I happy with HDR? I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say, after my last video, I was leaning towards possibly liking HDR. And now, yeah, I think I'm back to not being happy with HDR. That's my opinion. I don't feel that HDR for me is where I want to be. Now, again, 99% of the HDR images that you see out there are crap. 1% of them are pretty cool. And Trey has some really cool images on his website. Some of them I can still tell that they are HDR because you see the haloing effect and you see things like that. He's got this one in, I believe it's Japan, it's like a bamboo forest, and it's very cool looking. But it kind of looks like, well, this one's cool looking, but then there's one for the one of the early computers, and it's so over processed that it looks like it's from a Pixar movie. It looks like it's from Toy Story 3 or something, which I love Toy Story and Pixar, but that's a whole nother story. I don't think images are meant to look like illustrations. All right, we're supposed to there is no supposed to. I feel that I like to capture images the way that they are in the scene. I understand that our eyes see differently, but when you start throwing images up there where, you know, the trees are nice and bright and the shadows are in the shadow area is over lightened up, and you know they call it HDR because everything is there's a huge range of color there, and exposure and everything, and I just don't like it. Because most of the ones that you see are done poorly. You can tell that they're HDR. Now, when you have trouble telling if it's HDR or not, that's a little better. But to me, it's not a true image because, you know, you start to see everything smoothed out. It's not crisp and clear like it should be. Should be in my mind. There we go. There's no definitives in photography. It's what you like is what you like. So we'll get that straight. But when I see them, you know, you have that extremely grainy area because they had to really do something with the file. But then in order to compensate for that graininess, then they have to pull back on the smoothing, and everything is nice and smooth, and it just looks like an illustration. You know, you're either a photographer or graphic designer. Nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of people taking snapshots, taking pictures, and then spending 3 hours correcting them after the fact in Lightroom or in Photoshop, just spending so much time with the file, not spending enough time capturing the image, you know, waiting for that moment. But, you know, that's me. If you feel that you want to do HDR or try it out and really enjoy doing HDR or think you will like it, follow this link that's down below for Trey Ratcliffe's Stuck in Customs tutorial, which is very in-depth. I read the whole thing, and it does make sense, and it really does seem interesting. But for you, if you want to try it out, he's got the free tutorial up there. He has books, and if this is something that you really want to get into, look into his books, read his tutorials, send him questions. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you out. And, you know, good luck with that. Just good luck with that. I don't think I'm ever going to get into that, and that's me. But there you go. There's HDR RANT Part 2. And I don't know if there's a Part 3 yet. Maybe Part 3 will be me loving it, but that could be far off. So until then, Jared Poland, FroKnowsPhoto.com. May the power of the raw file be strong with you.